Okay, so thank you for coming along to tonight's class on Zoom, meditating on compassion. Compassion obviously is in all parts of spirituality and religion, life, and it gives us specific benefits in meditation and in daily life, which I'll come on to shortly. But in essence, it softens our heart and protects us from anger, our own and other people's. And like any practice, it is a practice. It's not something that we can be perfect at, I don't believe. You know, things come and go and ebb and flow, and we have a good day and a bad day, and if we keep meditating, then things keep improving. That's been my experience anyway. Or at least we have the tools in a better and better way, like as if, you know, like we might learn to use a certain tool, hand tool, or on a computer or something, and the more we use it, the better we get at it, and the quicker we can get it, benefit from it. So this is how I find meditation works really nicely, is to practice it, and then we can record it and use it when we need, and preemptively as well. So a lot of meditation is about preemptive effort, if that's the right word. Preemptive tends to be used with preemptive strikes, doesn't it? It's quite an odd word to use in meditation, but preemptive in terms of getting our mind into a place where it can cope with the rough and tumble of life, the cut and thrust, the ups and downs, so that we're not battered by the slings and arrows. And that therefore means that we need to include ourselves in compassion, self-compassion. Okay, so we'll do the body relaxation and the breathing meditation, and then we'll do the meditation on love and on compassion. We can start as usual by becoming aware of this room that we're in. And becoming aware of this body. And becoming aware of this mind, these thoughts. These thoughts come and they go. We don't know where they come from in truth, and we don't know where they go to in truth. And we don't know what consciousness is really. It's a bit of a mystery. You know, you can't see it under a microscope. You can't cut it in half. It's not the brain. You know, we can't pickle it. We can't pickle our thoughts unless you have enough to drink. But what we do know, what we can say with certainty, is that thoughts appear. we can bring our awareness to our feelings, into our body. So even if there's anxiety in here, or bliss, or stress, or joy, or compassion, or love, or anger, or jealousy, or craving, whatever is here, we can keep practicing not running away from it. We can keep practicing not running away from it. And it's a really crude, clunky practice. It's delving in, popping out, delving in, popping out. Don't underestimate just how profound a few moments of watching an uncomfortable feeling is. It develops the source for contentment. It is the source of contentment. So we've met with our body and our thoughts and our feelings. And we're going to meet with the sense of a self, which is, for me, and it may be for you, a general sense of there being someone meditating, and the experience tends to be just behind the eyeballs. So just bring your awareness to your head. Gently become aware of the sense of witnessing everything. There's an experience of witnessing, watching, observing, noting, perceiving, cognizing, whatever you want to call it, knowing. Now this experience behind our eyes, that is a sense of knowing, watching, is directly linked to our heart, to our spiritual heart. If we get embarrassed or ashamed, this area behind our eyes becomes tight. The feeling transfers down our center into our heart, and our heart tightens, and we feel anxiety. So embarrassment, fear, worry, concerns, shame, indignation, unjustness, anger, these feel like they are happening to this sense of a person just behind the eyes that's listening right now. And then there's an emotional reaction in the heart area, tightens, clenches. And then the opposite can happen when this relaxes. The tension behind the eyes relaxes, the mind relaxes in the head. So they operate together often. It can take a while to notice this. Part of what it is to be sentient, it gradually becomes evident as our mind quietens down through practices like compassion. And then the idea of a self doesn't become abstract, and anxiety and stress and fears don't become just something we talk about. We see the direct interaction between these things. We can watch it. So very gently be aware of the sense of being a meditator in your head. And very even more gently notice that there's the knowing of this. There's the observing of the sense of a person in the head. And this knowing is still. It has no agenda, no gender, no age, no politics, no history, no judgments, no criticism, no attachments, no anger. It's stillness, and it watches the sense of a person. So we've met with our body and our thoughts and our feelings and this sense of a self and the stillness that watches it. We've gone back from gross to subtle. The body is a very gross object, tangible, hard, noticeable, easy to observe. Thoughts less easy to observe and witness. Feelings even more subtle often than thoughts. The sense of a self in the head even more subtle, and the observation of this sense of a self the most subtle of them all. And it takes time for the mind as it settles to be aware of each more and more subtle part of ourselves, part of the system. So this is a practice of insight. This is a practice of seeing things just straightforwardly how they are, taking away the mystery of religion and the mystery of a lot of spirituality. Now we're going to relax the body. Please bring your awareness to your face, let your jaw muscles relax. Let your jaw muscles relax deeply. We often get more and more tense through the day in our jaw. There's always a chance to bring our awareness to our jaw during the day and relax it off. We can do this by checking in. And the tension around our eyes, if we have any, we can relax that off, and our brow, and our cheeks and our lips. And now we bring our awareness to our limbs. We're going to relax our limbs. So bring your awareness to your left shoulder and scan all the way down your arm. As we've done many times, just relax off any tension that you find there. Now we're not experiencing an arm, we're only experiencing the senses of the skin and any tension in any muscles. We don't actually experience an arm. And we can relax off what we find. And the same now from the right shoulder all the way down. and from the left hip, the thigh, the calf, the feet and the toes. Loosen them off from the day's efforts of running and walking and sitting. And the same from the right hip, scanning down. Relaxing off, being gentle with ourselves, taking care. Bringing our awareness now to our shoulders and our neck, having our head comfortably positioned, chin tucked in a little, crown of the head up, and if we want to rest our tongue against, tip of the tongue against the back of the top front teeth, we can do this just to stop too much or too little saliva, but it's not so important. Now we're going to imagine that our worries and our anxieties and our fears melt away from our shoulders and our neck. They sort of wick away like that hot air rising on the horizon in the summer. Just imagine your neck and your shoulders become lighter as the burdens fall away, wick away. Let them relax. Now we're going to visualize inside of our body black smoke swirling around. And bound up in it is our expectations of ourself. All of our expectations of ourself that cause us to get frustrated and make us find it hard to be self-compassionate. Our expectations of ourselves, our shoulds and must and have tos and ought tos. Allow them to be mixed up with this black smoke, and with 3 nice steady deep out breaths, we visualize this black smoke going into the distance and taking with it all of our expectations of ourselves, unburdening ourselves with each breath. To the point where it's okay. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be me. And it's okay for others to be who they are. No expectations. We develop expectations because we lack to some degree emotional composure. So these two things change gradually together. And now as we breathe in, visualize beautiful, gentle, sparkling golden light, sparkly and golden, coming in through your nostrils. And as you breathe it in, we can allow ourselves to feel acceptance, and love. affectionate love that we give to puppies and family members and friends. That feeling we have when we see random acts of kindness. Allow this to come in with the golden light and allow it to come to your heart and your head and everywhere else, gradually and steadily. Accepting kindness that doesn't need us to be different from the way we are, doesn't need to set us up for future failures. It accepts. With the last few golden light in-breaths, we imagine our whole body and the vast space of our mind pervaded by acceptance, gentleness, kindness. Bringing our awareness now to, excuse me, bringing our awareness now to the breath, keeping it simple. We just follow the breath in and we follow the breath out. Try to be relaxed but precisely watching it. Careful watching. And now we bring our awareness into our nostril linings and we observe the sensation of the cool and warm changing in just the same way. Careful observation. We're practicing mastery. There's no success and failure. We're just practicing and resting. And finally, we bring our awareness to the rims of the nostrils. Exactly the same process, we're just bringing our mind's concentration into closer focus. We've moved from the general large objects to more subtle small ones. The sensation of the breath at the rims of the nostrils. We can check with a little part of our mind if thoughts are starting to come in. If your mind's very busy, obviously it will be a moment by moment rechecking and refinding the sensation of the breath at the rims of the nostrils. But if your mind's calmed a bit more and thoughts are not coming so quickly, we can have a little part of our mind checking if they're coming without losing the object, the sensation of the rims of the nostrils. Tiny bit of our mind just checking if anything's coming. The sooner we find it, the easier it is to just drop it and let it fall away. Give it no energy. If your mind is starting to feel dull, just apply a little extra effort, a little extra concentration. If you feel that the thoughts are even busier, trying a little bit too hard, and just ease off the concentration and trust yourself in the process a little bit more. If you're in a warm room, your mind will go dull. If you've had a big meal, your mind will gradually go more dull over, I find, about half an hour when the digestion kicks in. It's natural. But for the last couple of minutes, just completely give over to the process. Take away any worry about your performance as a meditator. This is mastery. This is letting go of outcomes. Just relax and watch. we start to notice that the space in our heart that I mentioned earlier starts to relax, starts to loosen off. The space behind our eyes starts to become more relaxed. This sense of self isn't uptight, worried, frightened, anxious. We don't have such a strong sense of self. If somebody was to come in now and criticise us, we may react a bit differently than we would have done 30 minutes ago. We might still react, might get to us, but we'd do it less quickly perhaps and less intensely, or less quickly. So before we come out of this meditation, we can dedicate the peace that we've created to our own contentment, ongoing practice and deepening of contentment, from the tiniest amount up to a mind that just has contentment in it. And we can wish this for others too. May everyone else find contentment, emotional acceptance. And when it feels comfortable, just allow your eyes to open. Thank you. So if we have unpleasant thoughts going through our head, but we don't have an emotional reaction to them, or we can accept our emotion in relation to them, then we don't have a problem. If we don't react to our thoughts, we don't have a problem. So I find it really does come down to the emotional side of things. If I have a thought in my head that I'm a bit rubbish, and I can accept the emotion that comes with it, I don't have a problem. In fact, I simply have insight, and that can allow me to have compassion for other people and empathy for other people who have those kinds of inner critical thoughts. If I have a thought in my head that berates me, and I do not accept it, I develop non-acceptance in my heart, and that's painful. That's the problem. I then in turn deludedly believe that the problem can be solved with cake and whatever else. Sex, gambling, rock and roll, cake, spangles, sherbet dippers, fizzy fish, whatever we sort of want to go towards. And that's where the split happens. That's where we can never resolve it, because we look externally for a solution to an internal problem. And it feels like there very much is one. But it doesn't matter how many pieces of cake I put in here, I don't relax this sense of self in here, and this ultimately fear in here of this being under attack. Moving around the furniture of life doesn't change this. In fact, often it makes it worse, because the external world won't deliver, can't deliver. There's no evidence that it delivers. The more stuff we have, the more stuff breaks, the more we worry about having to earn to fix it and buy new stuff. And it goes out of date, and then You know, we may or may not worry that we haven't got the coolest iPhone, or the car looks a bit dated, or the clothes are a bit out of fashion, or the guttering's not black anymore, it's faded, whatever it might be. They just increase these tightnesses here and here. So as meditators, we can start to look at the place where we can solve our problem, which is that emotional discontentment, inability to accept emotions, which is such a deeply ingrained, instantaneous, habitual reaction. And we do it by looking. And sometimes it's really hard to look inside. So meditations like love and compassion, they create a better place to come into. Why would we want to go and sit in a stinky, damp shed full of spiders? We'd much rather go and sit in a conservatory, or, an orangery, whatever it might be, with a nice coffee or tea and a good book or some nice music. So what we can do is we can create that sort of environment inside of ourselves, so it's easier to look in and see these more nuanced, subtle processes going on inside of us. And also we get the benefits I've mentioned earlier as well. So if we hate people, we can actually rejoice in their suffering. We think, oh, you've got your comeuppance. The Simpsons capture this beautifully with the kids that go, ha ha. They're sort of rejoicing in other people's sufferings. That's what anger can lead us to. And it's the opposite of compassion. Compassion basically wishes for the thing we know, with the thing we see suffering, we wish for that to be gone. We have warmth towards that person who's suffering, rather than thinking, aha, you deserve that. If you hadn't done X, you wouldn't be suffering Y. Serves you right, or whatever it might be. Or indifference. We have a massive amount of indifference in our mind before we start meditating often. We can be indifferent to lots of things. We're bombarded by so much suffering in the world. I think indifference is how we cope. It's a form of denial of the world we're in, where there's so much suffering, because it would break our heart. I think it would break our heart. I don't think we'd cope. So gradually, as we meditate on compassion, we're able to open up to more and more of what the world is, reduce our denial of it and our indifference. I don't mean this on I mean this on a very technical, precise, sort of emotional level. I'm not suggesting that we're bad people in any way at all. But if we watch, we can only cope with a certain amount of the world's suffering, and we can widen that without it bringing us to despair or a feeling of helplessness. Because I found that a weird part of compassion is the ability to let things be, let that suffering be. I don't understand it. There's like a paradox between allowing it to be and wanting it to not be there. I can't explain that. But we all know it. We all know when somebody's suffering and all they want is their hand held, or to be listened to, or to be acknowledged. So we're going to do a little meditation on love, then we're going to do a meditation on compassion. Love warms us up for that compassion. It stops us wanting to feel negative or indifference towards the object of our compassion. Makes us care about that person or that thing, that person, that animal, that insect, that self. Okay, so if you'd like to relax again, just close your eyes, or however you wish to meditate. we can start by acknowledging that, checking whether we are the same as everyone else, all other living beings in a certain regard. This dispels our grading of people, of who deserves our compassion and our love, who deserves it. Because we can lack equanimity in our mind, and we do that by focusing on small differences rather than the biggest similarities. And we all want to be happy. Even people who are angry, even people who are hitting each other want to be happy. They're trying to remove what they perceive as the source of their unhappiness. They're doing it in a terrible way. But the underlying motivation is to be happy and to be free from suffering. All of our actions are motivated by these two things. To move away from discomfort and towards comfort, nicer flavours, nicer temperatures, nicer clothes, feeling more safety in our home, reducing our anxiety, feeling more loved, and away from our fears, our anxieties, even the discomfort. As we meditate, we move and adjust slightly. And all animals and humans and insects are doing this in every moment. Reducing hunger, reducing tiredness, trying to create community and friendships and avoid loneliness and a sense of separateness. And all living beings right now in this moment are doing this. We share this with every living sentient being. This same thing. We can allow ourselves to feel this unity, this shared, all-pervasive searching task at hand. We're so similar to every living being in this regard, and it's a regard that pervades everything. And on the basis of this deeper understanding of our shared motivation, we can develop love for more and more living beings, even ones that go about this attempt to have more pleasure and less displeasure in a way that we don't agree with. They're still searching, they're still struggling and searching. So we can picture in front of us are people it's easy to feel love for in our lives, and animals and insects, whatever you want to imagine in front of you. The easiest people and animals and insects it is to feel love towards. Imagine them in front of you, and we develop this affection that we feel for our nearest and dearest, our closest friends, our pets. We can acknowledge that they are constantly trying to find some peace too, moving from discomfort to comfort. And we can widen it out, we can include other people now, neighbours, colleagues, people we've known in the past and are not in our lives anymore, people who've passed away. Very beautiful, I think, to do this and include people who've passed away who we have affection towards. And we can widen it out now to people we don't know so well, maybe people we pass every day on our routine to the shops or work or to the gym or yoga studio, or where we tend to walk our dog or take 10-minute exercise. See the same people, don't we, often? We can include them, and we can include people around the area, and the animals in the hedgerows, and the insects in the ground and under rocks, and all these things. We can allow our heart to hope to open, to feel that warmth and care and tenderness and connection, that unity. Now, on the basis of this, we can consider that we all suffer, we all find things difficult. We suffer birth, aging, death, dissatisfaction from things we've got that are not good enough, dissatisfaction of not being able to get things that we think will make us happier. And the dissatisfaction of having things that don't deliver. And all the other sufferings. All these living beings are going through their trials and tribulations, hunger, loneliness, anxiety, frustration, feeling of not being worthy of love, frightened, and just generally a bit uncomfortable. We share this with everyone. We can wish for them to be, and ourselves to be, free from it, to find contentment. We can want this for ourselves and others. If your mind wanders away, come back to this wish. Allow it to be heartfelt. Allow it to come from your heart, from this love. And imagine all these people in front of you starting to feel unburdened, starting to feel content. Imagine they are feeling your love and your compassion. And imagine you do too. You fall quieter and more still. Keep bringing your mind back to the feeling, to the wish, to the connectedness. Now imagine it expands. Imagine it increases. The compassion and the love inside of you. Imagine they increase. They spread out in the world. They impact self and others. Imagine you have so much love and compassion. You can fake it to make it like this in meditation. And if you do, you do. Imagine you have so much love and compassion right now. Open up more and more to the suffering that we see in the world, in all its different forms, and wish for it to be not a cause of suffering for others and self. Now, before we come out of meditation, just relax off your concentration a little. Become aware of how you feel. Be aware of the meditator and let them just be. Bring all of that love and that compassion to your heart and this space behind your eyes. We struggle, we find things difficult, and we can wish for ourselves to be at peace, content, and accept that that doesn't happen straight away. But that we're committed to it, to find stillness and acceptance of our feelings, little by little. And just rest for the next 30 seconds or so in the stillness, however small or large amount. Rest in the spaciousness of it, stillness. Now, finally, we can make a wish, a determination to come back to this during the week if we want to practice this. When we become mindful during the day, we can recall the points or the feelings that have most moved us in this meditation, most connected with us. We can come back to them. It can be our base for the next week, before the next class. So if you suddenly feel very aware of the moment, you can feel that connectedness and recall how everyone around you is struggling and trying to find peace. And we can allow that feeling to come back. And the more you do it, the easier it will get and the more rich it will get. So we can sort of bathe our mind like this outside of formal meditation. It's what makes the real difference in reality. But it's not easy, so don't have expectations. Just have a wish to do it if you want. Okay, so allow your eyes to open when it feels comfortable. There's no rush. Thank you very much.